welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
And I know what you guys are thinking. If there's that do on in West London, is the speaker meeting on Saturday night still on? Yes, that's the meeting with the whipped cream and the cakes. Yes, it's still on. Yeah, and it's free. It's free to get in as well. So you're all welcome. It's not £5, it's free. Right, okay. No, not in NA, we don't plug. Can we please check that our mobiles are switched off and that disruption is kept to a minimum? I'm now going to introduce the second of tonight's speakers. Thank you.
My name's Kenny Almanellis. I was all right. I was sitting here and I thought, yeah, just sit back, lay back, you might appear cool. No one will know what's going on inside you. God, what's happening with the table? Just thought, come right on me.
They keep saying get closer to the mic.
Okay, so I've got to sit like this. It's a bit weird. Anyway, so yeah. He's having me out here, isn't he? Anyway, so I thought, yeah, it'd be all right, you know, it'd be okay. I keep drinking this water, now I really want to go to the toilet. It's right at the wrong time, it's like my head's on me. Should have got up, gone in the break, you ain't. You know, the anxiety is running through me, it's going right through my fingertips, you know. Because my belief about myself, and it's got a bit better, but it's still there, is I'm not enough. There's something wrong with me. I'm insufficiently equipped. And if you know that, you won't like me, and you'll reject me, you'll abandon me, you'll betray me, you'll take advantage of me, and I'll be left all on my own, and that'll be, and I'll wither away and I'll die. That's my belief. Since I've come into recovery, it's got a little bit better, but that's the belief I grew up with. So I've got a tendency to seek your approval, want you to love me, you know, be really dishonest and lie in order to get that need met. And a lot of the time it worked, and I got clean, and I didn't want to be like that no more. I mean, I'm an only child, so I grew up with imaginary siblings who lived in my head. I'd refer to them quite regularly, you know, and they're still there. You know, I still talk to them occasionally, but not as much as I used to. And so I was growing up, my family life was great. It was really all right. My mum and dad really loved me. The extended family was really warm, and I felt supported, I felt loved, I felt safe, I felt all of those things. But you know, I started to get a little bit older. I was great at school. I was quite popular. I found it quite easy to make friends. I was gregarious. I was spontaneous. I felt free. I had a thirst for knowledge. I wanted to learn things. I wanted to do stuff. The world really did seem like my oyster, that I could achieve anything that I really wanted. And I felt this way when I was growing up as a child. I was interested in absolutely everything, particularly music and stuff like that, and it was all right. It was just all right. It was fucking great, actually. Growing up was great. I had a warm and supportive family. I had a lot of friends, and it was all right. I was always out on the street. I grew up in the East End. I was born and bred in the East End, but the stuff on the street was a little different. On the street, it was. You know, if you wanted respect, if you wanted kudos, if you wanted to get on in this community, number one, you had to be really hard. So you had to be able to beat people up, carve your name into their face, And you know, you'd get big points for that one. You'd get big points for that one, and people would be, oh yeah, he's this and he's that. So that was one thing. You had to have that. Sexual prowess was another one. You had to be really good with women. You know, that'd get you a lot of credit and all. So, you know, you've got to be hard, you've got to be successful with women. And another one was criminality. If you could earn really good money as a criminal, you got it made. So if you've got all these three things in my community, you're made. That's it. You're living the life. If you had two of them, you'd be all right. You'd more than get by on two of them. More than get by on two of them. If you had one of them, you're going to be all right. You're going to survive. I didn't have any. I had none of these things. So what I thought I'd do is I'd jump on the coattails of others. People who seem to have them, I'll just have it with them. Hopefully it'll rub off on me. It became apparent quite quickly that wasn't going to happen. And I guess I started to use the people I used to have it as a form of protection, because actually I was a scared little kid, lost really in an environment that felt really, really hostile, really, really threatening. But I couldn't say, this is really scary. God, do you get really scared last night when such and such done blah blah? I'm going, no, what's the matter with you? You know, build that. So, you know, no one talks about their feelings. I was also growing up, and my core issues are sexual in nature. So this stuff going on that was actually crippling me. I went to my father and told him, and his response was, he didn't say nothing. He didn't say nothing. Up until this point, my father was my God. I mean, when I was a little kid, if he went to the toilet, I'd sit outside the door and wait for him. I just idolised this man. And as I started to grow up and I took this thing to him, and his response was what I just described, I just went, right, okay, that's it. If this person can't be there for you, if you can't get your need met here, if you can't get help here, that's it. And I just shut down. You know, I didn't decide as an 11-year-old kid, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut down and withdraw from the world, and I'm not going to play the game no more. This is hindsight. This is hindsight, but that's what happened. That's what happened, and you know, what I took from that situation is you can't trust no one. The world's threatening. The world's hostile. And you can't trust no one. No one's to be trusted. You really are on your own. And it's about survival. You've got to do what you can to survive in this environment. And that's what I've done. And coincidentally, at this age, I picked up my first drug, which was alcohol. Now, an 11-year-old getting paralytic drunk weren't an out of the ordinary sort of occasion in my environment anyway. It was a rites of passage experience, really. So it's like one of those events or the start of some sort of process that you started to become a man. And I remember it was on a New Year's Eve, and we went round with my mates, and his mum and dad had gone out because it's New Year's Eve, and we're in the drinks cabinet, and we're nicking all the drinks and then filling it up with water and all this sort of stuff, putting it back so they won't notice, so we're thinking. And I just remember, towards the end of it, laying in his front garden, and everything was spinning round. And it was brilliant. I thought, this is fantastic. You know, I didn't sort of think, oh, this is really bad. This could be quite troublesome. It just got me out. I thought, this is fantastic. And I guess from that point on, intermittently, I mean, I weren't the sort of person I found alcohol on that occasion. That was it. I was flat out every day from there on. It didn't happen like that. So intermittently, over the years, I started to use different drugs. Experiment with different drugs. I mean, I remember when cannabis was going around on street corners, I actually knew. It was like, do you want some? I was like, no, I don't want none. I know this is drugs. This is bad. This is bad news. Don't have none. but I couldn't keep that boundary. I couldn't keep that boundary. Curiosity got the better of me, nearly killed me in the death. But and I started to smoke it, and it was like, this is all right actually. I didn't get the paranoia immediately. That came later. What I did get was all the laughter, and you just look at each other. And you just burst out and you don't know what you're laughing at, and you go home and it's milk and digestive biscuits and all munchies and all that sort of stuff, you know, and then starting to listen to all the right music and it all sounds great, and I started to get into all this, done other drugs and acid and flipping out there for a while and all that stuff, and I enjoyed it. It was really good, excellent, lovely. My life wasn't unmanageable. I'd give up at school, really, from being this so-called precocious, boy. I just grew into this really disinterested, bored person. All I wanted to do was go football, be with me mates, stand on street corners, cause mischief, petty crime, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I did. So I'm going through school, using these drugs, which are great. They're fantastic. Got my first job, lost my first job. My first girlfriend, lost my first girlfriend. All that sort of stuff. And I got to the age of, I was 20. And what happened at this point was, used to go out and commit crime. Wanted to be with the big boys, really, go out and do bigger stuff. So that's what I've done. I got caught. And my father come up. He had to put surety down. I was in a police station in, where was it, Cambridge or something like that, and you had to put sureties down, and you got to do this, on curfews, and brought me home, give me a ticket off. There's these people you're hanging around with, and I was like, go and do one, do you know what I mean? That sort of attitude. The next day there was a knock at the door. There was a fella at the door, and I opened the door, and he said, your dad's just collapsed at work, we don't know what's wrong. I knew straight away. I knew that was it. I ran round, got my mum, we went up the hospital, and what I was telling her was, it's all right, he's strong, he's going to pull through, and in my heart I knew that was it. And he was on a life support machine for a month, and we give the decision to turn the machine off, and my dad died. And at that point my life changed. It changed dramatically. What I took from that situation was, you just killed your old man. Now, my old man was my God. I couldn't forgive myself for that. I couldn't live with that. My using changed. The people I had it with changed. My belief about myself, I've already described to you, that just went to a different level. And I started to use different drugs. I started to get into real criminal activity then. My ways of earning money when I was using drugs were threefold, really. One was pouncing off my family. I mean, my mum, I knew she was emotionally attached to me at all costs, and she would never let go of me, no matter what. So I rinsed it. I took that lady for everything that she possibly had. That was financially, emotionally, mentally, the whole thing. And got really angry when the money ran out. And blamed her for it. How could she possibly let me do this to us? So that's, I pounced off my family. My second way was real petty crime. I'd have it with people who knew what they was doing, and I didn't. But they'd go and do that, and I'd go, yeah, all right, I had a bit of arsehole, I guess. I just used to do it. And it was real petty stuff, scratching around for 100 quids and 50 quids and scores and just all this sort of stuff. So I'd do that stuff. Or I'd sell drugs. And they were the three ways I earned my money. Out of them three ways, my real ability was as a ponce. Because I knew how to play my mother's emotions. I knew it, and it was an easy touch. She ain't never going to let go. I'm her only son. I'm her firstborn. That's it. And that's what I've done. I moved using addicts into my house. I stole everything off her. I took all the jewellery off her, which was all sentimental. My dad was now dead. Lost all that. police was coming through a door looking for me because I'm selling drugs, and it was in and out of police stations and nickings and all this sort of stuff, and I'm just constantly bringing this to the door. There's a whole heap of stuff going on inside of me at this point that I can't talk about. I've buried that. That little kid, Kenny, he's buried. He's buried. The stuff and the issues, they're buried. They're buried. I don't talk about my dad ever. Ever. That don't happen. And I just carried on, using all sorts of drugs to create oblivion, really. I wanted to be out of my head for as long as possible. And when I come back round and become conscious, it was like, repeat it. And then I found crack. That's mental. So, you know, that brought me to a place of psychosis. If you come into my home, you come and all the curtains would be drawn anyway, and you peek through the thing, and there's geezers with hats standing under trees looking up at you and all that. I lived in a tower block, so had a letterbox, had a lift. So I'd always be, I used to spend about 6 hours a day up the door, the letterbox, listening to the lift. I lived on the 14th floor, and it's the top floor. So the higher the lift came, the more the anxiety rose. So I'm being emotionally managed by lift. And if it gets to your floor and it opens, you're up the spiral, and it's like, and it's because they were coming through the door any minute. They were everywhere. They were out to get me. And it might be paranoia, but it was happening. I mean, I was under surveillance. Also, if you come in and you needed to talk to me, into the bathroom, close the door, put all the taps on, and we whisper. I was convinced there was wiretaps outside the window, and you couldn't talk in this room. Crack cocaine. I don't know if anyone else has used that. That's what it done to me. Crack cocaine. And that's a mad one, isn't it? I always used to put myself, I'm on the gear, right? And you'd have your last 20 quid, and you're going to be sick. And what'd you go and buy? Go and buy a pipe. So you just praying all night. And anyway, so I carried on like this. I was injecting. I was, doing all this sort of stuff. Treating my mother how I treated her really badly, and wasting away. And I always thought I'd be discovered at some point for my, undoubted talent as a poet, or my acting skills that were great, and someone would come along and say, "We've been watching you. You're fantastic. And we'd like to come with us to Hollywood, perhaps, and sign a contract." And I'd be, I knew this was going to happen. This is my moment. You know when you're rehearsing all your interview speeches? Well, this is what I do. You're rehearsing all your interview speeches on Parkinson and things like that, and your acceptance speeches. All this gear going on. All the time. And it never happened. I did think I was indestructible. I thought for somehow, this ain't going to last forever and something's going to pull me out of it, and it never happened. And I got to a point where I knew it was going to kill me, or someone was. And I tried to stop. I'd done detoxes abroad. I tried this drug and not take that drug and not take this one and then try that one and all. And it never worked. It just got worse and worse and worse. And in the end, I just trying to give up. And finally, got on a script. They had someone had the bright idea of giving me funding and sending me to a treatment centre in the West Country, and I went. I got 12 steps in a car. Give you. This is how I got 12 steps. I'm in the back of a car, and my mate, peaking on recovery, just come out of treatment, goes NA 15 times a day. He's got me in the back of the car. He's with his mate, and he's going, "What you got to do? You got to get into a 12-step treatment facility." Any Brian. Brian's going, "Yeah." And you got to get honest about your disease. Any Brian, yeah. And you got to go to meetings. Any Brian. And Brian's going, "Yeah." And I'm just sitting in the back like traumatised by this. And the geezer knocks on the window of the car. We open the window and we all score crack. That's what we was waiting for. I didn't know about abstinence. I thought these people were really doing well. They're just obviously on the slippery slope of a relapse. But that's what I've done. That's exactly what I've done. I went to this treatment centre and I got clean and I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous. Those were the two things I got out of that treatment centre. I didn't really do any of the deeper work that apparently goes on in these places. I just got clean, started eating again. I was 7.5 stone. Got into a relationship. That fixed me immediately. The first woman who looked at me for the last 10 years, it was don't let her go, now her to the floor. So I asked her to marry me, she said yes. But it didn't turn out, she relapsed, and I couldn't believe it. I was just shell-shocked. Within this time, my mum went straight into hospital with an heart attack. My grandfather died, and this was all in about the first 6 weeks out of treatment. All this started to go on, and and I was in this fellowship. I used to sit at the back. I had this big mad yellow jacket. It was about 4 sizes too big for me. With my head down, couldn't say a word. Just so shut down, just like this little kid. Outside meetings, talk out the side of my neck with the best of them. But where it is in here, where it got a bit real, it was like, oof. So what I've done, this is what I heard. I don't know if this is what was actually said, but I've heard it said since and before. You need to attend meetings, you need to get a sponsor, you need to work steps, and you need to do service. So I asked this fella to sponsor me. He was a bit like my dad. That's why I picked him. He didn't have it with a crowd. So I asked this fellow to sponsor me, and he started taking me through steps. And I started doing service in Narcotics Anonymous. My first 2 commitments in Narcotics Anonymous was a GSR, so they slung me straight to an ASC. I mean, I've got a big yellow jacket, I can't even talk. They put me in an ASC. And the second one was I've got a commitment on a convention committee. I mean, talk about in the deep end. So anyway, so I used to turn up really scared, hope that no one said anything to me, hope that I really didn't have to say nothing. I'd do anything you wanted, I'd go and stack these shit, I'd do all this, but don't ask me to talk. Just don't do that stuff. I can't cope with that right now. But I just kept coming back. Kept coming. Started working through the steps with my sponsor. 4 and 5 were really pivotal to me. The first step 5 I had done with my first sponsor. It weren't too much about consistencies and inconsistencies with behaviour patterns and thought processes and all that sort of stuff. It was about I just had to get some secrets out, some of the stuff I was carrying, because I knew if I didn't deal with that gear, I was going to use again. I knew that more than anything. When I got clean, I knew I had to do work. I didn't get here and it was all great, do you know what I mean? I was on the floor when I got here. It felt like for years. And that's what I started to do. I started to do work through the steps with my sponsor. And started to get a bit of belief about I could actually do this. I was staying clean, I was doing it. I've done stuff like cleaned my teeth every day in my first year. I hadn't done that since I was about 13. Learned to iron shirts. I was a year clean before I learned to cook. Got into education. Started to get into education. Started to get qualification. Started to get a flat. I mean, my first flat I had, it was just a mattress on the floor. It had a carpet rolled up along the side of the wall in the front room. It had a cooker in the kitchen that weren't even plugged in. There weren't no electric, so if you wanted a hit, you had to go into the stairwell where all the lights were. That's what I knew about managing flats. So it was all that sort of stuff. Paying my bills. Real simple life skills that I didn't have. I didn't have them. So I'm starting to stay clean, starting to get into the fellowship and just engage into the step process. And they really opened me up, the steps. I mean, that's where I started to come alive. I started to take risks with people. I mean, I talked to my sponsor about my core stuff, and my sponsor after a while he said, you need to take this on the road and open yourself up to your friends. It was like the courage that took just to sit down with a couple of my friends and say, this is what's going on for me and I need a bit of support with it. It was like, I felt like as soon as I chucked it out there, it's like, oh, what can happen now? What can happen now? I was given love, trust, respect, confidentiality, all that stuff. So that's what I started to build up. Friendships. I mean, I'd never talked to anyone like that, not my family, not people I was growing up with, not my friends who I had it with when I was using, people in the education, said nothing like that. You know, it was a whole new concept, and I started to get freed up. What I started to do was actually express myself, how I felt. I've never done that. I've never told anyone how I really felt. I just couldn't afford to. So I'm going through this stuff, you know, my sexual stuff, which used to cripple me. You know, I was getting into a relationship, getting out of a relationship, you know, and sort of putting a few demons to rest. I was quite anorexic sexually when I was using. I just couldn't do it. My issues were crippling me. So I started to allay these in recovery, these sort of things. I had to do a lot of work around my father. I had to do a lot of work around the guilt, and you know what? I didn't kill my dad. My dad had an heart condition in the 70s. He had a heart bypass operation in about 1973. He was on borrowed time. I didn't kill him. I mean, that is a medical condition, you know, and used on that. I've just used on that for years and years and years and years. And I had resentments with him down to the sexual stuff, and it was all enmeshed, and it took years and years. I think in about my third step 5 was where I got to a point where the resentment started to go. It took years of just keep sharing it, keep writing about it, keep going through the thing, keep doing it until I just started to get my head above water. I started to get employment. You know, I was able to look people in the eyes. I was able to do normal stuff. I started to go on holiday. I got a passport again. I started to do all this stuff, which seemed quite normal. When I was using, I moved in a Clipper. She was brilliant, really good at earning money. Thought, brilliant, move her in. Anyway, when we'd been up Berwick Street and all round there, and she was earning the money, I wasn't earning. I was just there for the drugs, really. And we'd come home and it'd be this one. What we'd do, we'd just get 2 of each, because she might have had a right few. We'd just get 2 of each and that'd be it. Yeah. Okay, so that'd be it. We'd get there. We'd have the 2 pints. Should we just go and get? But we'd just do only another 2. That's it. And we'd yeah, and we'd do that, and we'd just be all night long, cabs to Hackney or wherever it was, and all that, and doing the money. And when we're coming home, when it's just getting light, and it's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and you've done all the money, and it's like, oh no, you know, but you're still like, yeah, because you've got another bit, and there's all the people going to work. And I'm looking, look at that div, I've done more tonight than he earns this week. Look at me, I know none of it, she has. But you know, and really judging them, look at them, you know what, secretly inside I wanted to be that person. I didn't think that their life was like, you know, fantastic, or they was happy every day and, you know, all that stuff. But it was a damn sight better than what I was doing. And I could never acknowledge that. And I guess today I've turned into a div. That's what I do. I get up and I go to work and I do all that sort of stuff, you know. I mean, I've had some stuff happen to me in recovery that's been really, 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 really hard. I mean, my mum died in recovery. I was at a World Convention in Hawaii when she died, and I got the news out there, and it just floored me. I've never felt pain like that before, and I wanted to use every day for about 6 to 8 weeks, every single day. It weren't a case of, well, yeah, you know, it's just every day. And I come back, I was in the London Fellowship for about a week, because she lived in London, and it's just in meetings every day, just share it, keep sharing it till the pain goes. And you know what? I got through it. Because I don't know about you, when I've done step 1s, I've always had reservations. I've never done a step 1 yet, I've just done one. I've never done a step 1 yet where there ain't been reservations, and that was one of them. I fall in love, and she'll reject me, and end the relationship. That's happening, and I didn't use. But what I've really got, I guess, is a sense of connection with people and the friendships that I've built up with people. I mean, I've never had that sort of substance. I was an only child. I was in fantasy. I didn't really have that closeness in relationships. You know, I'd get out on the street and all be about bravado and you know, all that sort of stuff. But what I've got in recovery is exactly that. You know, I don't feel so alone. You know, God knows how many people I know. Well, I can just go through my phone, put a number and go, all right, you've got 5 minutes, and just go crash. Exact nature. It don't take me all the 20 minutes fanning about, you know, when I was early in recovery. You get in and after about 20 minutes you go, yeah, and what's actually, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll talk to you something crap, you know. I get to that straight away. It's amazing for me. My life at the moment, I mean, I've been back in London about 9 months, 10 months, so I'm sort of in a transition of, you know, still settling back into London. I've moved 4 times since I've been here. That's really unsettling. Oh, catching resentments with best mates because they've moved out of flats and all, you know, nearly falling out with people and all that stuff. But what I found is just talk about it. Just talk about it. It's you know, Freud called what he said was the talking cure, and it's so good. You know, I never used to talk about anything. I'd never tell anyone anything ever. I at the moment, my head is the same as it's always been, really. I'm trying to find the words to describe it. When I was young, when I was growing up, my head was fast. It was mad. The messages were constant. They were frequent and all that. And I got on drugs and used certain drugs, and it just dampened it all down. And when I got clean, it just bang, off and running again. It ain't stopped. I guess I've got to a point where I don't buy into it so much, but I still run with it. I'll get a fault. I mean, I'll react to my feelings all over the gaff and to my faults. And I'll get a fault. I got here tonight. Someone asked me to do this share about 6 weeks ago, so I've turned up tonight. I've gone to Frankie, am I doing fit? I don't know who's doing the share. So I've distrusted myself straight away, gone into anxiety. You're in the wrong place. So if it ain't you, don't go there. I'll run with it. I'm not able, of my own volition, to sit there and think, okay, start breathing, calm down. I'll just run with stuff and go through it and come out the other side. I've learned that that's my process. A lot of my life, a lot of the feelings I have are really, they contradict each other. And I used to think that I had to get it all in place and it's all got to be symmetrical. And I'm getting to a place, I'm just accepting that you're a bundle of contradictions. Your life and what happens inside you. And you know what? It's all right. It's really all right. It ain't got to be all done and dusted. It ain't got to be all the I's got to be dotted and all the T's got to be crossed. I mean, you know, I feel more free than I've ever felt. I really do. I mean, I can sort of breathe. I've got laughter. I laugh a lot. I think it's the best therapy there is. I can also take myself really serious. Really narcissistic I am. I've got a sense of entitlement. I've got all that stuff going. I've got every defect I walked in the fellowship with. I've now got a choice about what I do with them. But I've also got every asset that I walked in with too. I've got the whole range of feelings. I've got the whole range of you know, characteristics. I've got all that back. You know, and I've got some hope for the future. I mean, some of the dreams I used to have, they weren't happening with relationships with women. They've happened, so you know that's still okay. The dreams about you could start fulfilling yourself, you know, do something creative. That's just starting to happen for me again. All that stuff that I really wanted to do, it was just this harbouring this secret thing that don't really talk to anyone about. Because if you tell them, and then it'll all just go away and they'll all laugh at you and all that, you know. That's starting to happen again. Just things like football. I love football. I mean, when I was flat out, I didn't go no more. I always used to go when I was a kid. Now I go all the time again. I mean, my first sponsor said to me, he went, you won't find yourself in the steps so much. He said, what you'll find yourself is in your loves and your passions. That's where you find out who you really are. And what you really want to do, that's where you find yourself. And I found that to be true. The things that I love and the things that I've got passion for, when I engage in them and do them, that's where I really find myself. That's when I really get in touch with myself, and that's where I'm able to be Kenny. Yeah, you know, I don't find that I can be myself in every situation. I've still got a tendency to, let's turn up and hopefully, they might like me. And if they don't, oh, no, right, okay, well, what have I got to wear? What have I got to say to fit in? I've still got all that going on, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Life's just the strangest one I've ever known, I guess. I don't get up Monday morning, go cartwheeling around the front room going, wow, I've got a career. I'm going to work today, isn't it fantastic? I usually get up and think, oh dear, not more of that. Not more of that. So I've still got that little secret, really, that I'm going to be discovered. I still hope that's going to happen. So I don't. But what I've found really useful is stuff like gratitude lists and taking my inventory. And I ain't going to sit up here and say that I do this on a daily basis, because I don't. But intermittently, I do this stuff, and it's really, really useful. I mean, I'm geared up for self-abuse, basically. I am geared up for abusing myself. I used to do drugs, and what I can do now is find other ways and means. I've also, in recovery, found things that are really, really healthy, really, really good for me, and they really enliven my spirit, and I don't do them so much. I used to live in a town. It's got a beach. It's fantastic. Sunny evenings, early in the morning, go down. Absolute. I used to do it. This would be great. This is fantastic. So I wouldn't do it that much. I find it difficult to discipline myself, to keep it really healthy, and to do stuff that enlivens my spirit. Because my default setting is all about how can you lose yourself today. It's usually the three sort of areas: problematic boundary setting. Difficulties with that. Real difficulties I find with that. And what happens, people impinge on mine, I impinge on, and I get lost and I start to lose myself. And I don't feel good about myself as a result. Low self-esteem. These are the sort of areas where I have to really work as hard as I can, access a power greater than myself, access you, just to get my head above water around this stuff. And a lack of a sense of identity. Just getting lost in people, getting lost in fact. I have to work hard to try and keep them three things in check. When I get them in check, I just get into a zone and I feel great, I feel free. I'm myself. And they're rarer than I'd like them to be. But they're much more frequent than they've ever been. So yeah, I mean, and I've got it all in Narcotics Anonymous. It's where I got all this stuff. I don't necessarily go to professional people to get all what I have, and I will in the future if I need to. I'm not, if it's going to work for me and if it's going to help me, I'm going to go and do it, regardless. But I've always come to Narcotics Anonymous. I've always sponsored people. I have a sponsor. I've always been engaged in working steps in some form. I'm always on a step, stuck on it, or working for it, or that sort of stuff. And I've always done service, and I've always been connected. My understanding of what addiction is about alienation and being separate and being separated. And a lot of my life, my whole life till I got here, I felt that way. And my understanding and my belief about what spirituality is being connected. And I've got that. I've got that right now. I'll leave it there, thanks.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. Napot is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napot.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.